What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Unscripted, a show that brings you professionals from all walks of life, touching on their backstory, their mindset, and how they navigate through adversity and opposition, while providing you practical tips that might help you on your path. I'm your host, two-time Olympian, Olympic bronze medalist, author, and motivational speaker, Akeem Haynes. Now, let's get into the episode. This week on the show, my guest is a 2016 Olympian. She's made 3 world championship teams for USA. In 2016, she was the national champion in the discus at USA Trials. In 2017, she finished 6th in the World Championships in London in the discus. During her time at San Diego State University, she became the first athlete to win a national title there since 1984. She's well decorated, lots of accomplishments. My guest this week, Whitney Ashley, joins me on the show. I had a great conversation with Whitney and we talked about so much. I've seen her throw at a couple meets, but she didn't know that. I saw her throw at a couple meets where she did really outstanding. But Whitney has been through a lot in her life, and to hear her talk about her story and how she seeks to find perspective in all that is extremely encouraging. She's a very inspiring woman, and she gives great advice throughout this episode. In this episode, we get into growing up in Riverside, California, lessons she learned from her mother, how her mom started to coach her without any experience. That story is going to blow your mind. Her junior college experiences, shout out to everybody at junior college, Barton Community College. You know, that's where I went. She went to Cerritos. Shout out to everybody at Barton and Cerritos, but we talk about that. How she dealt with the transition in school and finding balance. The 2016 Olympic campaign, her toughest moments, and why she almost gave up. And I think it's very relatable because if you can think deep enough, there are moments where you probably want to give up as well, too. I know I have. We talked about how therapy helped her on her journey, how she battled with depression, and even to this day, some of the things that help her stay in a positive state, in a positive attitude. And we talk about the great work that she's doing now for athletes at Arizona State and so much more. We really dive into these key points, and these words and me saying it doesn't do it enough justice. This is an episode that you truly don't want to miss because we really get into it. I'm a firm believer that you don't know what you need to hear until you hear it. And I think this is one of those episodes where you're going to need to hear some of these words. So without further ado, enjoy this week's episode with Whitney Ashley. Perfect. How are you? How's the Phoenix heat in July?
Unbearable. I'm not even going to lie to you. It is not for me, but you know what? Summer is going by really, really fast. We're going into August. And from what I remember, I moved here September of last year. And that's when the heat kind of dissipated a little bit and it got a little cooler. So just a few more weeks.
Yeah.
So I survived.
I used to train in Phoenix and the joke was you never want to be there in the summertime. Cause like my last year there, it was plus 40 for like a week. And I was just like, there's no need for me to be here. So I get it.
118, 117, easy.
For what?
Yeah. So for me, I've been inside most of the summer and it's not that bad. You just find things to do. I'm into like adult Legos now and watching movies. My boyfriend has me watching the X-Men series, like starting from scratch, and you just figure it out.
Oh, I like them. I like them already. But Whitney, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I want to be respectful of it. And I have a bunch of questions and things that we got to get into today. But I want to start here. I believe in gratitude. I believe that's how we should start our day. I believe that's how we should finish our day. Because if we can be grateful, man, it's hard to see some of the negative things. Give me 3 things you're grateful for today, Whitney.
That I have breath in my body and waking up, I feel is the beginning of the day's journey. Like you have nothing to complain about if you're not alive, right? And so when I get up in the morning, the first thing I do, I believe in God, is Lord, thank you for a breath in my body. Thank you for another day of life. That's the first thing that I say before I even ramble my mouth to complain or anything like that. I get another opportunity to be great. And my mantra is always forward. I know that was long-winded, but I take that very seriously. Always forward. Yes. I have another opportunity. I've been granted another opportunity to try to travel down this pathway of life, you know? Second, I'm grateful for, wow, that's a good one. I've never actually been asked that.
Good.
So, second one, what I'm grateful for currently, honestly, that I have a job that I currently enjoy. I currently work in collegiate athletics. I work at ASU. I'm housed in the Office of Student Athlete Development. So just kind of, it's a job, but it's allowing me to navigate like my passions, if that makes sense. No day is the same. I'm giving back to athletes every day. I mentor there as well. And I love the staff there. It doesn't feel like a clock in, clock out situation. I'm grateful for that because I know a lot of people wake up, especially on Monday, and like, oh my God, I have to go to work. And I'm just like, I get to throw on a polo.
Yeah.
We have a lot of flex days. It's just, yeah, I'm home. I'm talking to you today. It's very leisure. Like it gets tough at times, but I enjoy it. I enjoy my job and I get paid for that, you know? So
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I'm able to pay my bills and I'm employed and, you know, I'm not really affected by the times. And I right now that says a lot because a lot of people are hurting right now. So I'm grateful that I can do almost whatever, all the things that I want to do. Put gas in my car. I have food in my house. I have a roof over my head. I have everything that I need. Maybe not everything that I want, but I have everything that I need in life. So continue on that gratitude path, right? And the third one would be my health. I am 33 years old now. I'm old. Oh my God. And I have had zero health problems. I'm grateful for that. No injuries through my athletic career either. And so I don't take that lightly as well. I'm grateful for my health. So
it's you said so many things there, Whitney. Like you get to do something that you enjoy doing. I don't think people realize like that's not something to skim over because a lot of people are doing things that they don't want or enjoy doing, but feel like they're kind of stuck. I want to ask though, Whitney, do you feel like you get to give maybe what you didn't have since you retired in sport, maybe in your collegiate time, but you get to be a different mentor and come at it from a different perspective, even though you've walked the same lane? How do you find what makes it so fulfilling in that sense?
I get to see myself in these athletes, their daily fears, their worries, and like the things that we made a big deal in our head, right? We're in college and we think like, oh my gosh, like life is so hard. And it's so nice now to be that older adult to go, you have no idea. Enjoy this journey. That's the first thing I tell the athletes that I get to mentor. Please enjoy where you're at. Utilize all your resources. Tap into as much as you can because you have no idea the network you're really tapped into currently being in college. It just seems so easy and everything's handed to you. And as soon as you walk across that stage, it's all gone. Hopefully, you know, some make it pro, but the ones that don't are quickly realizing like, wow, you know, everything costs as small as your chiropractic appointments and going, you know, like the medical team and food and uniforms, travel, very, very expensive. It's a new lifestyle when you venture out of collegiate athletics, if you're pursuing athletics post-collegiately. So I find a lot of joy in that and they take me seriously. I think it's also because I have an Olympian title behind my name. So it gives me a little pedigree. It's like, okay, she's done something. She didn't just compete in college. Like she went pro and I represented the United States track and field team for 9 years. And so that, you know, that puts a little weight on my name a little bit, you know.
There's a little something, you know, 3 world championships. It does a little something.
You know, a little something.
But, you know, before we get into the track aspect of things, Whitney, we got to go back because I'm a firm believer that in order to understand the person, you got to go back and look at the history. And so we got to go back to California, right? Now, California is a massive state with a great pool of people and talent in many different forms. One of the most popular states in America. But what was it like for you growing up in Riverside, California? What was those dynamics, right? Like growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, like what was that? There was a lot happening. California was jumping at that time. But what were you seeing around you? What was the culture like? What was that dynamics like growing up?
I do want to step back and say, one, I'm so impressed by your research. And
I take it seriously.
So I'm like, okay, like these are great questions. I don't want to take that lightly. So kudos to you. Growing up in the 90s, it was different times. It was fun. I don't remember much. It was hot living in the IC, of course. So you're in the valley. But where I grew up, predominantly Hispanic and Black. Very few Asian families at the time. Now I believe it's Asian dominated in that area as the University of Riverside has grown tremendously. Their medical center, I mean, it's a great campus. And so that has drawn a lot of Asian families and cultures to that area. But when I was coming up, it was Hispanic and Black. I don't remember. Life was different in that you can send your kids places without worries. I remember my mom giving us money and us being able to walk to a store or just like going to do things on our own. As to nowadays, I wouldn't dare send my kid outside by themselves if I had one, like just the fear of, trafficking on the rise. And it's just people aren't what they used to be. People used to look out for kids back then. Like, shouldn't you be home? There's a curfew. Where are your parents? It was more community based. That's what I do remember back in the day. And just like basic acknowledgement to elders. Like I grew up, yes, ma'am, no, sir. And nowadays I rarely hear that. Or when people do hear that out of my mouth, it's like, where are you from? And I'm like, California, just how I grew up in the 90s. You acknowledged all adults around you and there was respect. And so to see stories of like crazy things happening in classrooms and teachers being blatantly disrespected, we goofed around, but there's things we drew the line somewhere. And I just go, what happened to this? Like, what happened to respect? I get like being a class clown, but we weren't degrading and berating teachers like that when I was young. Not like that. It's just different. That's what I do remember. I just go, wow, I grew up in a very, very special time.
Yeah, I see some videos of kids in the classroom and I'm thinking to myself, how are you not getting yoked up right now? Like I don't have the cool to be a teacher, to be able to be that composed if that would ever happen to me, because I'll fight a kid, Whitney. Because I'll fight a kid and I love the kids and I love the kids. But from what I understand, Whitney, your mom was a track coach and that comes with a lot of different things as well too. But what was some of the lessons that maybe your mom taught you or the community taught you, maybe directly or indirectly? Because sometimes we can learn from just watching people or listening to people that we may not be related to. And it's something that they say that we're just like, you know what? I didn't know I needed that until I got over here. But what was something that maybe your mom or your environment taught you directly or indirectly growing up?
It's another great question. I do want to say my mom was a track coach, but my mom became a track coach for me. My mom was actually a volleyball coach prior to that, and she's taught special education for over 20 years at the time. I think she was, and 20 years in. Wow. And when I started to dabble into track and fell into the shot put at the time, that's how my track and field journey started, was that event. Most people don't know that. I didn't learn discus till college. There was no coach. So, youth track, it's sprints heavy, field event heavy, but like jumps. And that's what I could remember at the time. And there was no shot put coach. They kind of just had balls laying around a circle and was like, if your kid wants to do that, go figure it out. My mom said, well, if my kid's going to do this, she's going to do it at the highest level. And so my mom read books. She went to camps. We went together and we learned together. And my mom coached me all the way to state championships and ultimately earned a scholarship to San Diego State University.
Wow. Shout out.
And so without even having to, I just watched that. Does that make sense? It wasn't that she had to teach me these things. I just watched how my mom moved for her children. And if something was special or important to me, it became important to her. And she made it her biggest priority. She supported me from day one, never made excuses. And so as I've navigated through life by watching her, anything that I've pursued, I put my best foot forward. I don't know, I just busted my butt in everything that I did because I watched my mom do it, if that makes any sense. So that's what that taught me, and how important it was to keep people that aligned with your goals around you as you're pursuing whatever endeavors you are, because you can't take everybody with you. That's something I also learned. There's a lot of people in my family who didn't believe in me, or who'd make jokes like, are you still throwing that little ball? Oh, you and your mom are crazy. You guys go to all these meets. Those meets are long. And it got real interesting how the tables would turn. I started making teams. I started traveling. Well, we want to go. It's funny, you have London. That was my second world championship team. And it's like, oh, you're going to London now. Oh, you went to Moscow. Now it was cool. This is our Olympic athlete, or, at the time I was pursuing the Olympics, but this is our Olympic hopeful niece now. I just became this like kind of family trophy as before it was a joke. And so I watched that, and it just helped me navigate the kind of people I wanted around me, how important it was for people to believe in me and to hear just positive reinforcements on my journey, no matter where I went. I handpicked everyone around me my entire life because of those early moments. I didn't like the way that felt. I was working my butt off, and it was a joke to a lot of people because I was throwing a ball, and that ball paid for college.
Whitney, how did you block that out? Because I get those same sentiments, because when I was coming up, I was a dual sport athlete running football and track. And there would be times when I was more focused on football for sure. But there'd be times when I would go to the field at like 10 p.m. at night and it's pitch dark. And I'm just trying to like muscle memory, right? Trying to say, okay, Akeem, if you can't see the hole in this and that, but just trying to get better. And I actually loved it because there was nobody there to tell me, oh, Akeem, that's not going to work out, or this and that, even though I had those voices. But it's harder now to block it out because of what social media and all that stuff has. But how did you block it out? And did you let go of that? Because Whitney, we can carry certain things of the past into our future. How did you navigate through that? And have you said, you know what? I understand why they said that. I can let go of it and I can move on.
Well, I think you brought up an interesting point, being that I am a 90s baby. We didn't have social media coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Smartphones. Now, this is really gonna tell my age. When I was coming up, you had to wait till either after 7 or 9 p.m. to text your friends because it
was free.
And so if you did, oh my goodness, those 10 cents of messages would come in, and they'd send you booklet of a bill to your parents. And my mom was like, "These are not after 7. My bill is high." And then when you were able to buy, I remember I would buy packages. So after a certain time, I can send like 500 messages, and then it'd be 10 cents, or it wasn't unlimited. There was no such thing. We didn't have Instagram. Facebook was on its way up. I was a MySpace kid.
Ooh, I know about the MySpace. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And let's touch on that. You couldn't get on the internet at one time if your mom was on the phone. So you're playing tag team with the house. Like, okay, is everyone off the phone tonight? I'm going to get on the internet, because it was dial-up era. And so I didn't have to deal with like pressures and trying to keep up with the Joneses as a kid. Yeah. And so I think, again, that just helped me kind of, I don't know, discipline what I was doing. I focused on what I was doing. There were really no outside distractions, especially social media. And the second part to that question, I believe you asked is, did I carry that with me? Like just the negativity of some people in my family and or friends who didn't
be able to let it go. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, I did. I was angry for a long time, and I would say things to my mom. She'd invite them to meets in my pro career, and I go, "Why would you invite them? They didn't support us in the beginning." Mm-hmm. And she's just someone who just like, you gotta let it go, Whitney. Like they're still family. She always played that card. Family is family. They don't always have to understand. Not everyone's always going to understand your vision. Sometimes the way to be a blessing is to continue kindness. And I could not stand that about her for years. I just thought, I want to be successful. I'm going to be, excuse my French, I want to be a badass. And if they weren't there in the beginning, if they weren't day ones, I'm not bringing them with me. I couldn't wrap my head around, you know what? I'm going to invite you into my space and show you what hard work is done and all the jokes that you made, and being graceful without being boasting, but being in a graceful way. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
And so I carry that honestly through my entire career up until the Olympic Games in 2016.
Wow, really?
I did. I was filled by anger and just like always having something to prove to people. I was small, and you're never going to be big enough. You're never going to be strong enough. Anger filled I would say a lot of my career. Mm-hmm. I just pushed and I pushed and I pushed, just always trying to prove people wrong, especially family.
I get that 1,000%. Like I remember, I just got in from school, and I was about to go to football practice because it was in the fall, and my mom was on the phone with one of my older cousins, and I remember them saying, "You know what? I don't think Akeem's going to be able to get a scholarship." And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Like, how you can't say that about me? And it affected me, and it makes you go with a chip on your shoulder. And a lot of times, to me, how I look at it, like anger can work both ways. it's kind of like fire, right? When fire is controlled, man, you can make some good food, cook up some nice eggs, make a nice home cooked meal, and it's controlled. Like it can be good. But on the other side, when it's not controlled, we see what fire in a forest can do and the damage that it can create. So it's just like me personally, I've always just tried to harness it and control it and use it as fire, as fuel for good. But our path is always going to be different. And it goes me back to your path before you got to the Division I level. You and I have something in common, Whitney. We both went to the junior college system.
Hey,
right? And, people don't know about the junior college system. It's a special relationship that you have, even if you don't even know the person. But I went to Barton Community College because one of the maths that I took in the 9th grade, the NCAA didn't accept anymore. So I was ruled ineligible. So I had to go Division I. But you went to Cerritos College. And I remember Amir, my old teammate, he went to Cerritos College and he was telling me a little bit about his experience. But how did you get there, Whitney? Because the thing that people don't know is nobody really sets out and says, oh, I want to go to junior college. Usually something happens. But
True.
How did you get there?
Oh boy. I was lazy. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I had the performance marks to do it, to go Division I, but I only took my SATs one time. I just thought I've done everything. Why would I want to take this test seriously?
I get it.
And I don't know why I didn't retake it. I think you could retake it as many times as you needed to get the score you needed. It did not dawn on me. I didn't take it seriously. And so when I submitted my scores to San Diego State, they were like, this isn't going to cut it. And I'm like, wait, what? I don't know. I just gave up at the time. I know that sounds crazy. I gave up at the time. I was actually supposed to go out of high school.
Yes.
But they followed my career and said, listen, go to the community college level, get your AA, and we're going to keep an eye on you. I was winning, still doing great things. And so when I finished, I didn't even have to reach out to them. They already kept track of me and was like, hey, we would like to offer you X amount, blah, 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 blah. And I took a full ride scholarship to go there. So that was awesome. That doesn't always happen.
Yes.
But that's the reason why I wasn't able to go Division I out of high school, my SAT scores. And I, again, do not know why I did not retake that test or why I didn't take it seriously. I remember going in that Saturday morning, my mom pulled me out of bed. And you couldn't tell me I wasn't going to Division I. Like, to me, my life was like, I'm already going to do it. I just didn't take it seriously until it became a reality. Like, oh my gosh, I'm not going Division I.
Yeah.
And, I was a little ashamed because I was wearing my San Diego State gear already before I even signed my letter of intent around school. So just like to come back and tell people I was at a community college was a little embarrassing at first, but it was the best year and a half of my life.
It's so funny you say that because I remember getting there, like, especially coming from Canada to America. Like, I went to Barton Community College in Great Bend, Kansas. You can imagine what kind of fun is in Great Bend, Kansas. Mm-hmm. But I remember my coach said, you guys, when you leave here, this will be the best part of your college experience. And I'm thinking to myself, bro, you must have not been down in these dorms in a little bit because you're not making no sense. But Barton broke a lot of people mentally because there's not a lot to do and you're really focused there is for track and for school. And there's nothing really to do. The closest city is 2 hours away. And a lot of my teammates, they came here. This was like their second, third chance, right? They're coming from a tough environment, gangs, streets, a lot of things that is not conducive for them to succeed in life. And I remember one of my teammates came and he said, Akeem, for the first week, I cried for 3 weeks. He was like, how are you doing this? I was like, what do you mean? Like, how are you not breaking down? Right? Because here's the thing that you just said as well, too. You felt embarrassed. Some of your friends that you probably went to school with are probably out in Division I doing their thing. They're sending you pictures and you never think something bothers you until you realize that it bothers you. Right? What was some of the challenges that you faced during your junior college experience? Maybe not so much from the track, but from a mental standpoint, right? Because there's a lot that you have to take with you during that time.
Ooh, man, you are back to back to back with these. Honestly, academically, I wasn't as prepared as I thought. I struggled and it's never going to, junior college classes are still very small compared to going to a university level, but it's still larger than high school. Yes. I did struggle immediately with the larger class sizes, not really having a relationship with my professor and learning how to navigate you had to be proactive in college. That's one thing I learned quickly. You're struggling in a class, you need to get to know your professor as soon as possible and figure out, how the heck do I pass this class? What resources do I need to tap into? Are there tutors? The whole bit. And so I was embarrassed again, just to go. I didn't want to feel like I was the dumb kid in class, and like I wanted to look like I was figuring it out. And I was actually ineligible my first semester in junior college. Fun fact. Just because I was prideful, didn't want to ask for help. And it wasn't that I didn't understand the material. It was overwhelming. Everything was overwhelming. I was on my own. I was taking a train actually back and forth from Riverside to it's in Norwalk, California. That's where Cerritos College is.
How long was that?
The train ride? Mm-hmm. A little over an hour. I was getting up like 6:00 in the morning and taking it out there, and then taking the last train back out to Riverside. My mom would pick me up and take me home. And before I got an apartment out there, that's what I did my first year. And so just everything was new. It was independence, but I just didn't know what I was doing. And then after that, 3.0, no problem. But that first year, it was a huge transition. I just wasn't ready. And I go, this is why I'm here. I didn't take it. I didn't crawl under a shell and continue to be ashamed. I go, I know I'm smarter than this. I know I can do better than this. I just need to ask for help and figure this out. What works for Whitney? And after that, it was curtains. I didn't have any issues after that.
Asking for help is tough though, man. Did you, because at that point, Whitney, you're what, 18, 19 years old. As a young kid, was there a chance, did you ever remember asking for help about anything back then?
Never. My mom always made jokes about that. Like, it's okay, Whitney, drop your pride. No, I can figure it out. I always did. I didn't have academic issues in high school. So I didn't have anything to base that off of. Like, why would I ask you for help? I can figure it out. And so when it came time to, I really didn't know how. And I didn't feel good about it. It made me feel less than. And it's something I tried to run away from for a long time. I did not embrace that at all.
Yeah, it took me 18 years to ask for help, because I felt like I could do it myself, until I got to a point where I was just like, yo, I legit don't know how like on a scale of, I legit didn't know how. So it's a tough lesson that we learn at some point. It's very easier said than done. This next question, Whitney, is a loaded question. So take your time answering it, right? You get to San Diego State, you get there. When you come from the junior college part and you go there, right? And you said shot put got you the scholarship, and then you went on to discus. But when you get to a bigger school, right, the idea of what you already had in mind coming out of high school, you get there and now you see the reality of it. Bigger school, bigger facilities, more options for fun. Facilities are better. Classes are bigger. It's fast moving. You're traveling more for competition. What was that transition like for you as a whole? Because now you got to transition again. And what were some of those challenges that you were facing with that transition on and off the track?
A lot more freedom came when I got to San Diego State. And another fun fact, I was ineligible again my first semester. So this time I was not intimidated by class sizes, but I wasn't going to class. I thought, got to figure it out. In junior college, I know I can just read, show up when I need to for tests. And that didn't work. I remember getting a call from my coach and was like, I don't know who you think you are, but we did not follow you from junior college for you to get here and act a fool. I partied so hard. And I remember calling my mom, and she didn't feel bad for me. She said, well, I was redshirted this year anyway. So by God's grace, it did not affect anything.
Yes.
I was redshirting this year, and I called my mom. I was like, I'm ineligible. And she said, well, you have one choice. She goes, if you're not eligible next year or this next semester, I'm going to take you out of San Diego State. You're going to go to UCR and you're going to live at home with me. And I'm going to ensure you finish college the way I envision you finishing it. And I said, back to Riverside? Absolutely not.
Yes.
I tell you, hand to the man, I didn't have one more hiccup after that first semester at San Diego State. Just missed out on being, like, we called it scholar athletes at the time. No problem. 3.0 in my major, I finished. Oh man, Yeah, it was the freedom at that point. I thought I had it all figured out and just got a little ahead of myself, but I didn't have any other issues outside of that, if that makes any sense. I was excited to be there. So I let go of like, okay, everything's bigger. I was just like, I'm where I'm supposed to be now. And I wanted my name on those banners and I wanted to leave a legacy there the best way that I could. And I did. So I didn't have any issues in that department once I got to San Diego State. I was just excited finally to be where I knew I was supposed to be.
You know, it's so funny. We have like a bunch of things in common as I'm figuring as we're talking. Because when I got to Alabama from Barton, like my GPA, I had a 3.1 GPA going in, and I was just like, yo, easy work. I'm just gonna continue where I left off. And my GPA fell from a 3.1 to a 1.9. And the reason why it fell was because the class size were bigger. Teachers didn't care about you. You were just another number. But I also was not used to, okay, we have SECs from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you're leaving the Sunday a week in advance. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm missing all these classes. And I didn't get adjusted to the speed for a semester. And that really bothered me. But on the track, we had a lot of success. We did really well, you know, to the point where Alabama was started to be nationally known. Right. On the track, though, Whitney, you became the first athlete from San Diego State to win a national title since what, 1984, if I remember correctly? Did I say that right? 84?
84 or 86, but I'm going to go with your research.
84.
84, yeah. Let's go with that.
What did that year feel like, right? Because you know it's in you, but to actually see it on paper, to see it on the scoreboard, to see the results of it, what did that feel like? And what do you remember most about that moment?
Never in my wildest dreams that I think I was capable. I remember walking into that meet and I told my head coach at the time, I said, Coach B, I just want to be top 3 today and I want to throw 180 feet. I think my PR before that was like, I don't know, maybe 172. So not that much.
You smashed that.
It wasn't too much more. I said 180 feet. I will feel so accomplished. I will get my degree and I'll be a podium finish. Like top 3 to me was a big deal because I didn't think that I was going to be better than those girls. When I was throwing in college, it was very competitive. And I just thought, I'm not better than these girls. I'm not stronger than these girls. I didn't let that, again, deter me, but it was, to me, a realistic goal. And I went in there going, I'm going to achieve this no matter what. And I just battled it every round. And it was the 5th round, I believe. It was the 5th round. I went into the ring like normal, and it just kept going. And I looked back at my coach, and it's funny, the scoreboard went down. So we had to wait like 2 minutes. Oh. And we're sitting there, and everyone was like, well, what was it? What was it? They held the mark because, you got to wait for these things. And it comes back on, and I'm talking to my coach, and everyone goes, oh my gosh, she did it. And I turn around, and I see 196.10, and I just start bawling. And he goes, I know you could do it. I know you could do it. My coach, before he went into that meet, told me I could win it. Didn't believe him. He said, Whitney, you can win this thing. Like, if you just, all you gotta do is line up one good time, it's gonna go. Like, it's in there. It's all in your head. And I said, you're right. We did it. And, but never in my wildest dreams, it was never a goal to me to be a national champion. I didn't think I was capable of doing that. Never.
So it surprised you. Did it feel good? Because sometimes in the moment we don't think about it, right? Because in the grind of what's next, here it is. Did you sit with that?
Not with the what's next, just, wow, I get to leave college with a really cool trophy. It says national champion. I'm in history books forever. That's all I cared about. I didn't even think USA team. Now that's another story. I don't know if you had that in your questions today, but that was it for me. I just thought, what a way to leave college. What a send off. And that was it.
Now the collegiate career is done, right? And now we are going to the professional world of things where things are a little bit more interesting, a little different, because now everything is on you. What was that transition like, Whitney? Because now you have to, you just won the title. So maybe there's some sponsors looking at you saying, you know what? I see what's going on here. We want to invest here. But now you also need an agent to hopefully negotiate some things. There's a whole bunch that goes into it, right? I know I didn't have the best plan with it, but I wasn't in your situation, right? What was that transition out that first year like for you?
Well, I went home that summer after winning NCs, and I spoke to my mom and my coach, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go work for a PR company. I majored in journalism in college, and so I always wanted to be behind a camera. And again, athletics was just a way for me to pay for school. It was just, that was it. That's all I cared about. I just didn't want my mom to worry about me. And so, yeah, my coach goes, hear me out. You just threw the standard at the time. I forget what it was. We had A and B standard when I came out of college. Yes. I don't remember those days. That's gone. Yes. We had A and B standard.
Don't exist now.
I had just got the standard, and he goes, you have your whole life to work. Just give it a try. Try this next quad. I think you can make an Olympic team. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, there's no way. Like, I'm not, I said, okay, it was a lucky throw. I just thought it was a lucky throw. Like, it was awesome. I don't know. And so I talked to my mom about it, and she was like, listen, I support you. Whatever you want to do. Again, she backed my coach. You have your whole life to work. Don't worry about it. And so I thought about it. The United States Olympic Training Center reached out to me in Chula Vista and said, hey, you've earned a bed here. You have the standard. Let us know what you want to do if you want to come train. And I thought, interesting. I didn't jump at it. I know that sounds crazy. I was kind of like, I don't know. Because again, it wasn't my dream. I just thought why would I want to continue to go throw the discus after college? And what am I going to get out of that? It did not look exciting to me. And then I remember going to the Olympic trials for London. Why not? It was awful. I think I got like last place. It was just an awful experience. I was by myself. My coach was still competing. So he was off competing for Jamaica, which he made the shot put final at the time. Shout out to Coach Dorian Scott.
I know Coach D. Yes.
Yes. He was my coach.
My Florida State visit. Yes.
Right. He was my coach at San Diego State. And so I was by myself. It was an awful experience. And I thought, exactly, this is why I don't belong here. My mom was like, listen, you're inexperienced. It was your first one. Just give it a try. And so I was like, okay. Went to the training center. And again, the best time of my life. I didn't have a sponsor my first year. I signed with Nike like a year later. So like a year and a half into that. So that was great. Represented them through the Olympic Games, actually through 2017, through London. I was with them, had a great agent, and it was awesome. Again, I surprised myself though every single year. If you knew me at the time, you knew that I was always trying to quit. So even in this journey of navigating to my first Olympic Games, I still didn't think I belonged. Mm-hmm. I was making teams. I wasn't making finals. I made my first final in Beijing, and I was like, cool, maybe I should stick it out one more year. Then I stuck it out to Rio, got there, and I fouled out in Rio. And I'm like, see, I don't belong here. It was awesome for the people and the athletes I was around, but I just felt like I always kept falling short just because I never truly embraced where I was at. Yeah. And I was looking back, like, I just wish I got out of my head. I don't know what I was truly capable of in the end. And my body just kind of lost steam, and my mind was at its lowest points. And so I just had to walk away from the sport just of last summer after being an alternate for Tokyo. I just thought, I can't do this anymore. I'm tired. Yeah. I beat myself to the ground, and I played mind games with myself. And I just don't think I ever reached my full potential. And that's something I had to live with the rest of my life.
It's so interesting is because, like, when people see it, they see the stats and they see everything. They'd be like, this woman over exceeded all expectations, right? You've made a bunch of teams, 3 world championships team, 13, 15, 17, some tough finishes during those teams. But then you make the Olympic team in 2016. That did not go exactly how you wanted to. Yeah. You came and you didn't get the result that you wanted to. But before we talk about the result that you didn't get, Whitney, again, now you have this illustrious title on your name as Olympian, and you can carry that for the rest of your life. What was that year like for you? Did anything change during your training? Because from what I understand, you won USA champs that year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's got to feel good as well too, right? Because again, you've had this thing where you felt like you didn't belong, but you're the best. You're best in the hardest team to make every single year. But what was that like? I mean, you must have had to have felt a little good when you got to the Olympics and was like, yo, I'm amongst the best.
prior to the competition is where I felt, wow, I do belong. It was a very short moment, especially during opening ceremonies. I remember looking around wearing that beautiful U.S. Olympic. We had blazers at the time, our opening ceremonies uniform, and I'm standing next to just people that I've only seen on TV, Kevin Durant and Serena Williams, and I go, we're wearing the same thing, like we're equal today, at least in this moment, representing the same, we're on the same team today or during this time. And it was a privilege. I, at that point, realized how much of a privilege this journey was, how hard I was on myself and didn't need to be. And I did embrace it. I did embrace the moment. It's the negativity didn't come back after competition, but after winning from Olympic trials to opening ceremonies right before competition, I was a little graceful with myself. I definitely gave myself some grace, and I soaked in every moment of it. It's an incredible experience to make an Olympic team. The whole process is exciting, and you truly are on cloud nine the whole time, because they make you feel like a star. Just the entire process of picking out the uniforms and going to try on your ring, your Olympic ring, and just everything. It's just, they do such a great job with that. It's exciting. It truly is. Ride that wave. Anyone watching this, ride that wave. It's an incredible experience.
I tell people all the time, if you make an Olympic team, especially if you medal, right? I'm like, even if you don't have a book, just say you have a book on the way, right? Like you really gotta take the moment, right? But there's always two sides to the coin, and everybody always talks about what it's like at the top of the mountain. And I never been one of those cats to say, oh man, it's this great at the peak. I'm like, man, when you get to certain pinnacle moments, you think about the journey and the hardness that it takes to get there. Struggles, disappointments, frustrations, sadness, emptiness, loss of hope. Whitney, I read somewhere that in 2019 was one of the toughest years of your life, and you were having thoughts that you didn't think that you would have.
Yeah.
Why was that year so tough? What made it so tough? And how did you get to those thoughts?
When I left Chula Vista, I moved to Lawrence, Kansas.
Oh, I know where that is.
So my coach was released from the training center, so was no longer coaching. My whole training group pretty much disbanded. So I was last Mohicans, and I tried to tough it out for a year by myself. So I did stay after he left, and it was horrible. I said, oh no, this self-coaching thing is not for everybody. Whoever does it, kudos to you. It is not for the weak. And especially someone who's overly analytical. I needed someone there to bring me down, and I was just always on 10. And so I was always super tight, and that's another story. But so I said, you know what? Let me make some phone calls and think about people I've trained with or have traveled with on the circuit and who I'd just be a good fit with, and if they'd have me. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, I know a guy, and his name was Mason Finley. We had the same agent at the time. Just a joy to be around. And I actually loved his technique. It was very different. And so I reached out to him first before I reached out to his coach, out of respect, because I go, if the coach will take me in, but Mason doesn't like me, it's not going to be a good group atmosphere. So I said, Mason, hey, I know that you know me from the circuit. We've been a couple meets together. Would you be interested in training together? He says, heck yeah. He felt the same way about me. You're good energy. You're good people. I've never had any issues with you. Good memories only. Let me talk to my coach. We all kind of get on a quick call, I believe, at the time. And I said, hey, can I come visit? Let me just see if I can even do this, because we're talking the Midwest, a California girl in the middle of nowhere.
It's cold.
Doesn't really sound like the best of ideas. And I got out there and I go, it's small, but who cares? I'm here for a dream. I can do this. And so I think after I flew there, I went back home, and in 7 days, sold everything I had, whatever made it in my car in a small little shipping container. And I was out of there. I moved to Lawrence, Kansas. I drove with my best friend at the time, 23 hours to Lawrence, Kansas. Yeah. Found an apartment and everything. And that was that. And when I got there, it was overwhelming. He completely broke down my technique, which he told me he was going to do. There's a lot of things that needed some work. And everything was just different. And I just lost my Nike sponsorship. So they cut me right after London. So moving to Lawrence, Kansas, like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure this out on what I've saved. I didn't know how I was gonna make money, but I didn't care at the time. I just need to get there. And so having to get a part-time job and figuring out the situation and training, and I was overwhelmed. I was tired. I didn't know how I was going to make ends meet a lot of the time. And track and field, when you make prize money, you don't know when you're going to get paid. Even USATF is terrible at, compensating athletes.
I hear that a lot.
Prize money comes way later after championships. And so I just thought, I can't do this. I don't know. I don't want to be here. I just gave up. Honestly, it was just more like everything bad keeps happening to me. I just felt like I couldn't catch a break. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to remove myself from the equation. I really contemplated, dang near attempted. And I thought, let me seek help before I make literally a decision like that. It was one of those, let me get a lifeline real quick. And I remember reaching out to actually a psychologist that I had met through USATF. I don't know, at one of the world championships. I just thought of her, and I reached out to her and we spoke. And then I eventually went into therapy. But it was at that moment I thought, I need to just talk to someone who doesn't know anything about me. I just need to get this off my chest. This is what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And it was a 2-year process.
Wow.
I just was released out of therapy January of this year. Was my last therapy session. So yeah, a lot of unpacking, just a lot.
First, thank you for sharing that. Yes, I honestly think we all need therapy in some capacity.
Yeah.
But you're a person of faith, Whitney. I'm a person of faith. Where was your faith during that time?
I didn't pray. And at first, like, dang it, no tears. I didn't. I just felt. So my mom always tells me, I forget the verse by heart, but make your request known to God. Right. And I just thought, you've heard me for years. Right. I'm like, Lord, like, you've heard my cries. You know my fears, and you know the things that I want to achieve. And you promise prosperity. Like, I have plans to prosper you. And I go, those are lies. Those are lies. I didn't believe them anymore. Yeah. And so I just stopped. I go, you're not listening to me. Obviously, you don't want me to be here. Like, why do you have me continuing down this path and there's no success? At least to me. I was making teams and it wasn't enough. Like, I wasn't training just to wear a uniform. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be on the podium. I wanted to be competitive. And I just was falling short all the time. And so I just stopped praying. I didn't go to church. I didn't want to hear anything about it because I just felt he was failing me at the time. And I wasn't taking the lessons. And I don't know, I wasn't open to anything at the time.
It's I've been there so many times in my life. Even in this recent season, I'm like, yo, God, what's going on? Like, I'm not here trying to hurt anybody. I'm really just trying to trust and believe that you're putting me in this position. Like, I'm moving in purpose. Like, why are you making everything so much friction?
Yeah.
And you be getting frustrated. You be getting annoyed because you're not trying to harm anybody. You're just trying to move in where you feel led to do. And what I've learned with my faith, because at some point your faith will be tested and it will get shaken. Honestly, the moment that you focus more on God is the moment that you will get those tests. But for me, I'm just like, the scripture never said anything that we would not go through trials. It never promises that things are going to go sturdy. And I think when we focused our expectations on what we think our lives should look like, that is when we actually self-impose what the scripture we think it should be like. But it never says, oh, if you do this, if you dedicate this for 3 weeks, you'll get results. And I think that has been one of the challenges for me. I still struggle with it. Right. And I'm trying to let go and let God. But whenever people tell me that statement, I'm like, don't tell me that. Tell me practically. I don't want none of this. I need practical steps. Yeah. But when you know, and it's one of those situations for me where I just try and hold on to certain scriptures that help me. And even in the moments where I don't feel like praying, and I say this all the time, this is what has helped me. When you don't feel like praying or don't know what to say, just give thanks. Because I think a lot of times, even if God doesn't help us in our situation, he wants to see if we're still going to come to him. You know, are we still going to come to him, or are we just going to use him when things are going well? And it's the biggest challenge for me, because in our situation, we often forget it. We're humans, right? So I resonate with everything that you said. I know a lot of people will as well too. So thank you for sharing that, Whitney. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. That's an affirmation. That's an affirmation that you know.
It's real.
I am enough, right? We hear these cliche statements, but I've read in parts of this conversation, you said that you didn't feel like you were enough in many capacities, in many different ways. People talk about self-care, self-honoring, self-love, and all that good stuff, and it sounds good. But from a woman's perspective, Whitney, how did you get to the point where you say to yourself, man, I'm happy with the person that I see in the mirror. I'm happy with her. It's a work in progress, but how did you get there? Because men struggle with that too. They just put up a good front.
Therapy. I'm not even going to take credit for that. I had to help. Like, I needed the assistance in navigating how beautiful my journey truly was, even though I felt I was always dropping the ball or not achieving what I wanted, and how I was still in this very, very small pool of professionals. Like, you're an Olympian as well. I believe we're in is it the 1% or point? Yeah. It's a very low percentage. I should know that by heart, but I go, once that was realized in my mind, how I'm in this very, very special group of people, my perspective changed, and just how exciting the journey truly was. Before the age of 30, I had stepped foot in 34 countries. I shook Barack Obama's hand. I've met Michelle Obama and Joe Biden at the time when he was in office, or when he was, what was his,
I know what you're talking about. Yes,
vice president. I'm like, oh my God, sorry, excuse me. when he was VP, and all the things that came just with athletics and what it's done for my life, everything that I was, the people that I've met, everything that I came to be was through athletics. It taught me self-love. It taught me how to be disciplined. All the skills that I thrive at, I have learned through this journey, and I just wasn't seeing that. All I saw was, I didn't make this final, or I didn't go to this meet, or man, I wasn't invited to that one. Like, the stupidest of things, instead of seeing how beautiful this journey was. And again, being a part of this special group of people. And it took me again till leaving the sport to embrace that. And all of that sucks, because I would have found joy in those moments, or at least try to marinate in them a little longer as they came. I think it would just been a better outcome for me. I think I would have seen some success sooner, or some meets would have gone better. I wouldn't have been as hard on myself. It was never enough. And so because it was never enough, I didn't feel like enough. And so I was putting my worth in my performances. Yeah. Gosh darn it. And so my confidence was at its lowest just as an individual. I just felt useless, worthless, you name it. Because again, I was tying who I was to my performances. And an athlete is not who I am. It's what I do. Yeah. It's just a part of me, a small part of me, but I'm so much more than that. And again, that took a long time, just again, till January of 2022. So it's a little embarrassing, but that's my reality. And it's beautiful now. I look back and I can laugh about it now. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was upset about that. That's amazing. And to tell my story, one thing I do love about mentoring, sometimes I get a chance to do one-on-ones with these athletes off camera. They open up to me about whatever they're going through in their sport. And I'm able to literally like pour into them whatever it is that they're looking for at the time. And I love those moments, and it's like, thank you. And they love to come back and tell me, I had this breakthrough and this went so great in practice and this turned around, because that's what it's really all about. Of course, I want to see them thrive in athletics, because that is my job. But I want them to enjoy their journey, because we're only athletes for a short period of time. And I'm telling you, now that I'm out of the sport, you think about it, 9 years isn't anything. It really, you blink and it's been a decade, And that's going to be life. You're going to blink and look up and go, oh my God, I'm 40, I'm 50 now. athletics happens faster than that. 9 years really felt like 3 or 4, to be honest with you. Yeah. I can't believe it went by that fast. And to embrace that very small time that we have in our youth and enjoy it at that high level, do not take that for granted. So, and I did.
My grandmother used to tell me, before she passed away, she used to say, Akeem, when you can laugh at the pain and laugh at the setbacks and laugh at the delays, that's when you know you've grown. And everything that you just described, Whitney, is exactly just that. Because what you can give back to them, regardless of the situation, is you can tell them things that you didn't have for yourself. So they know to look for joy. They know to enjoy the moments. And so sometimes what we go through isn't about us. It's about how we can make the path a little bit easier for others. But when we're going in it, we're so solely wired, because to be honest, I took it way too seriously. And when I didn't take it seriously, that's when I would do well. You know what I'm saying? But when I took it way too seriously, it wouldn't work out for me. But to hear how you're using those experiences to speak literal life into the next generation, I don't think that's a regret. I think it was in God's plan from the jump. Last question, Whitney.
I'm actually kind of sad because I'm really enjoying this.
Oh, maybe we could do a part 2 in a couple of months.
Oh, this is great.
And I believe, and I really, the older you get, the more you kind of just start reflecting, right? Mm-hmm. And really just taking time to actually not let the moments pass you by. And I didn't used to understand it until I got older, where older people used to say, oh man, just be patient. I'm like, patient, I got to grind now. Like I got to now. But the older you get, you realize all you have is time. But every season that we go through, Whitney, I believe that there's maybe a word, right? Or a sentence or a challenging, because people always say every year is going to be my year. But let's be honest, every year can't be a good year.
Like the Cowboys, right?
But what has been one of the biggest challenges for you in this season of your life?
Patience.
Mm.
I'm a little bit of the popcorn generation, when it's like they call it. I want instant gratification. I want it now. And not knowing that, this is one of my favorite quotes. I don't know if you follow along. I love quotes. Blossom where you are planted. And it really means, honestly, to enjoy where you are. And there's lessons. And sometimes we keep hitting roadblocks because we haven't learned the lesson yet, right? And every time you have that aha moment, it's like, okay, you got a little bit of a smooth sailing again, and then you're tested again. And everything only lasts for a season. Nothing lasts forever. And so I'm still teaching myself that every day. Like this, I hit a rough patch time to time, and I go, this will pass. This will pass. And it always does. Everything always works out. And so I'm learning not to rush things. Of course, I'm not where I want to be career-wise. Like I want to, keep rising and elevating and be director of whatever one day and leading. But I go, there are still steps to take. Yeah. And me trying to figure things out and hunt, I don't know, looking for other opportunities. And I just go, blossom where you're planted. You're here for a reason. You're working in Pac-12. Your days don't look the same. Why are you rushing to, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You're not where you want to be yet, right? But that's okay. You're better in a better position than you were last year, than you were yesterday, than you were last month. And opportunity is still coming my way. And there's going to be a point where I'm going to be able to decide. But I have to put the work in right now. And again, enjoy where I'm at. And when I'm able to reel myself in and remind myself of that, there's like a weight lifted off my shoulder.
Wow.
And one of my favorite quotes is, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plan. I have to remind myself that all the time. You want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. My life has already been written. And so I just kind of got to ride the wave and have faith and express gratitude every ounce of the way, or I'm going to block my own blessings. When I try to divert from that path and, I'm going to go ahead and do this. Every time I do that, I get burned. Every time I go, I'm not going to wait. I'm going to do this myself. I'm always humbled and having to come back. I don't do that anymore. Let me tell you.
You and me both.
I don't do that.
And I really have to sit and say, you know what? Wait, is this me, God? Is this me? Or is this you trying to tell me something? Like, I don't know, you got to tell me. And I wish God would say, there's this big arrow that says, go this way, turn right, turn left. And I wish that it was like that. But everything that you describe, patience is a big part of decision making. And I have no doubt in mind, Whitney, that you are going to reach wherever it is that you set the bar for yourself. You have the makeups of it, but what you have more of is the fact that you're willing to learn and to listen and to improve. And you're willing to put the ego aside to get it done. The ego is one thing that stops a lot of people, especially, I mean, I've done it. We all got ego. We all got it, but we can control it, right? But especially in the way certain things work, man. I don't know where you're going to be in 5 years, but I know it's going to be a lot further than where you probably think. Right. And that's the thing. I stopped doing this. When I stopped saying, oh, in 5 years, I want to be here, because that's us putting a cap. And God may move us a little bit sooner than 5 years. He may make that happen. It may happen in 2 or 3. We just got to stay disciplined along the way. And most importantly, stay encouraged. I close out the show the same way, Whitney. I don't close it out. You close it out, because these people, they hear from me all the time. I believe there is, every day we wake up, there's something that is on our heart, right? Something that is inside of us that we may not share with the world, but we share it with ourselves. What is a message that you have on your heart today, Whitney? What is a message that you would share with our audience today? What's inside your heart today?
I have a sticky note that I've been rolling with lately, and I think I want to read them to you guys. Okay. This one. And this guy right here. Sorry, things I love. Okay. Pain does not give you permission to become paralyzed to your purpose. My favorite one. I try to live by that. And then this one is a 4.1. Be impeccable with your words. Don't take anything personal. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best.
Wow.
Yeah.
Always do your best. Whitney, thank you so much for your time. This has been great. I really enjoyed it. I really resonate with everything that you said. And I know you already know this, or maybe you haven't heard it in a while, but man, your story is so powerful. The fact that, because you can walk in the gate, sit in the house, and be able to tell it from point A to point B and see where you went wrong or where you could have done better. And not a lot of people is intuitive enough to do so. So thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed it. I really appreciate your time. Where is the best way for people to keep in contact with you? Because I know you have a lot of things coming, stirring and brewing up.
Email, Instagram. That's how we connected.
Yes.
I'm always on Instagram, even though I don't post. I love to watch a lot of videos. So I will answer my DMs if I'm reached out to. It's Lil Miss Black Diva, LIL. Spell like a little baby. So Lil Miss Black Diva. And yeah, easy to get a hold of. I just love talking to people, so it doesn't bother me at all.
Whitney,
I really enjoyed this.
Thank you so much. Let's definitely stay in touch. We're connected now. So if I can help with anything, please let me know.
Likewise. Have a wonderful day.
You as well, too. Take care, Whitney.
Oh, bye-bye.